Hey you guys, it's Mrs. Yeagle. I want to make this video for you today so we can work through the last few revision steps on our nonfiction essay. So last time we talked about it, we looked at things like transition words, and we looked at the openers to all of our sentences to make sure that they didn't sound the same. And today we're going to make sure that we hit the last few things about our essays before we have to hand them in. So the very first thing that I need you to do is take the new copy of your essay that I printed, and we're going to underline the first sentence in every single paragraph. And that's because that first sentence should really give us a hint about what the rest of the paragraph is about. Now your intro and your conclusion, those are pretty obvious, I think, but what we really want to look at are those two body paragraphs, because if you have a main idea sentence or a sentence that starts your paragraph that doesn't really explain what your whole paragraph is about, then your reader is going to be confused. So take a minute and just underline the first sentence in every single paragraph, and then reread it and make sure that it really kind of sets the stage for what you're going to talk about. So remember that that first body paragraph is just going to be the factual stuff. And so that main idea sentence should again just say, this event's really important to American history and everybody should know about it, something like that. And then your second body paragraph should be that cause and effect paragraph we looked at. And so that main idea sentence needs to say something about this is important, but what if it had never happened? Okay, so do that. I'll have somebody pause the video so you have some time to work on that, and then we'll come back for mission 4, which is going to look at organization. Okay, pause. Okay, so now that you've made sure that your paragraphs match your main idea sentences and you revised if you needed to, you can add things, you can delete things, whatever. I want you to make sure that your essay makes sense. And so within those body paragraphs, I want you to look and make sure that if you're writing in a chronological order, your events are actually chronological. So for example, if you are writing about bombing Hiroshima, you can't bomb Hiroshima and then talk about how they built the bomb. Okay, it needs to be sequential. So this is going to require you to reread your essay, those body paragraphs, and make sure that the events really happen, this one and this one and then this one, okay? It's possible that if you wrote in a problem and solution kind of situation that you want to list the problem first and then the next sentence should be the solution. Don't give a problem and then give the solution to it at the end of the paragraph. You need to make sure that they match up, they connect, okay? And in terms of your cause and effect paragraph, that should be the same thing, where you list if this event didn't happen, it's possible that this thing would be different. And then some of you had some explanations about those changes. Those should be right there next to that change that you mentioned, okay? So pause the video, reread your two body paragraphs, and make sure that they're going step by step and that they make sense. You're not jumping all around. Pause. Okay, it's time to look at grammar. We've got fragments, we've got run-ons, we've been working a lot about complex sentences. And so right now, I need you to reread your essay. That's the hardest part about revision, is rereading it over and over and over and over again. And I need you to really make sure that you don't have any kind of dangling fragments hanging out there. When I was looking at your essays the first time around, I found a few of them where we still had dependent clauses we were trying to make into complete sentences. So reread, make sure that your sentences have a subject and a verb, that they express a complete thought. And now here's the tricky part, because we've been looking at complex sentences. I need you to locate two complex sentences in your essay and draw a little squiggly line under them. That tells me that you know what a complex sentence is. That tells me that you knew that you wrote it. And if you don't have a complex sentence, that's where you can go in and revise, and you can take a couple of simple sentences and you can add some of those subordinating conjunctions we've been looking at. You have a whole list in your binder, and you can turn them into a complex sentence. So let's say that your essay doesn't have any complex sentences in it, so you can't locate them and draw a squiggly line. That's when you take your pen or your pencil and you make some revision, you cross some things out, you add your subordinate conjunction, and you write it in by hand and draw the squiggly line under that so that I again know that you wrote a complex sentence on purpose and that you know what they are. Okay? So pause the video. You're looking for fragments, run-ons, and complex sentences. Ready? Go. Are you tired of revision yet? Because I know I am. But this is really important. We just have a couple more left to go. So now that you are really familiar with what you've written, because you've reread it probably 3 times today, we need to think about tone and word choice. And I caught a few of these already, but if you have written using slang, like gonna, or wanna, or shoulda, you need to revise those out. Go in and change it so it's going to and wanted to. Do not use any sort of slang. Make sure that you haven't used the letter U instead of the word you, and make sure that your tone is generally professional, because this is a nonfiction essay. We're trying to tell people that we know a lot about this subject and they should listen to us. And so if we're using slang or casual language, that's really going to detract from our credibility, okay? So make sure that throughout the entire piece, you are very professional, you are academic in your tone, you're using very specific word choice, and none of that slang that we've talked about. The other thing that I want you to be careful about is do not use I and do not use you, because that makes your essay not very specific at all and not very professional, okay? So that'll be something you need to revise out. If you said you or I think or I believe, remove it and just state it as a sentence that it's true, because we don't want to directly address our audience in this case, okay? So tone, professional, word choice, none of that slang. Revise it. Go. Last thing, and this is going to be really frustrating for some of you, you need to make sure that you have capitalized all of your proper nouns. So places, people, dates. Go through and make sure, and that seems really silly, but you would not believe how many times I have to write that on a paper. Why aren't your proper nouns capitalized? It's driving me crazy. Double check your spelling too, and don't just hit the spell check button. You need to reread and make sure that when you put the new word in, Google really knew what word you were trying to mean, and that they didn't put in some bizarro word because it kind of was spelled the same, okay? Double check for ending punctuation too, but especially those proper nouns. That's the thing that is killing me these days. Once you're done with that, you should be able to submit your essay, so click the turn in button. These essays need to be handed in by 8 a.m. tomorrow, because that's when I'm going to pull them and print them and grade them, whatever that is. If you have a problem with that, like you've been gone a whole bunch, or there's something that you just really, really are struggling with on your essay, send me an email and we can set up a time to talk about it tomorrow. All right? Thanks, guys. Bye.